What's one unsolved mystery you'd like to see solved before you die? The Alps murders, as they're known in the UK. An English family on holiday in France are assassinated with an old pistol with accuracy that points towards a professional hit. A cyclist is found murdered in the same lay-by-two by the same weapon. The assassin thought they had tied up all loose ends until after 8 hours on the scene. The French police found their 4-year-old daughter hiding under her dead mother's legs. 9 years later, there's still no clue over who or why they were all murdered. GQ did the best article about it. https://www.gq.com/story/alps-murder-chevaline. Where Ian Brady buried Keith Bennett. I doubt we'll ever know now unless someone happens to stumble over his remains. But my heart aches when I think of that poor boy's mother being tormented by his killer until the end of her life. In 1994, I found a cinema ticket stub for Speed in my jacket pocket. I never saw Speed at the cinema. Nor did I lend my jacket to anybody that had. I'd like to know where it came from so I can one day sit through the film without wondering about it. What happened to the famous Alcatraz escapees? My wife's missing brother. I met him in 2009 while I was visiting Costa Rica. He was a local and befriended me. Shortly before my trip was over, he introduced me to his sister, now my wife. I left for about 8 months before returning and he disappeared in that time. He is a kind soul. And is the only reason I met my wife. I wish we could find him. Or at least find out what happened. His mom lights a candle for him nearly every night. For the last 12 years. It's heartbreaking. I'd like to know what happened to Andrew Gosden. https://en.m.wikipedia.org/wiki/disappearance_of_Andrew_Gosden. A 14-year-old boy left home in Yorkshire one morning in 2007 dressed in his school uniform. And then withdrew all his money from his bank account. He went back home after his parents had gone to work and changed out of his uniform. Then went to the train station and bought a one-way ticket to London. About 2 hours away by train. There is CCTV footage of him leaving King's Cross station. But that's the last time he was seen. He didn't tell his parents he was planning to go to London. And it's never been established why he went there. I'd love to find out he's actually okay. Or even if not, for his parents to finally find out what happened to him. I'm pregnant. What's your reaction? Who the hell are you? Who are you? Why are you telling me this? Hi pregnant, I'm dad. Good for you, internet stranger. Good for you. Who's the dad? Quote. No joke. This happened to me. Got a vasectomy in 2013. Got divorced a couple years later, and when I started dating again. She pulled this about 3 months into seeing each other. Should have seen her face when I showed her the paperwork and my test results proving I'm shooting blanks. Edit. I'm getting a lot of good questions from guys genuinely wondering about my vasectomy. And I want to put my experience here in the hope it helps answer some questions and put dudes at ease. I decided after my kid was born I did not want more kids. I made a conscious decision to get it done and found a good urologist. He was very relaxing to speak with and laid it out plainly for me. We set the appointment and in a week, I was in and ready to roll. He gave me a Valium shot to relax me. And holy crap, that worked and then some. I felt a pinch in my balls when he injected the local anesthetic. But it was quick and faded fast. He kept me informed on what he was doing. He made his incision. And I only felt a slight uncomfortable tugging when he pulled out my vas tube. He found it, cut it, cauterized it and clipped the ends with a metal clip. Then he put it all back in and sewed it up. I'm being 100% truthful when I say that it hurt far worse getting kicked in the balls than this surgery ever did. I followed his recovery orders. Bed rest for at least 2 days. No strenuous activity for at least 3 days. No sex for a week. The first day after surgery was the worst of it. Had to move slowly. Could pee fine, but it did ache a bit. As long as I didn't move, I was almost pain-free entirely. Second day was noticeably better. Still sore but diminished significantly. Third day was nearly painless entirely. I went back to work after this. Day 5. I got antsy and made some pulled pork. Everything worked like it should. After 5 weeks, I submitted a sperm sample to the urologist and he confirmed I was shooting more blanks than a 90s action flick. Only lasting effect was my balls got about 10% bigger for a year or so. The lack of anxiety surrounding getting a woman pregnant went out the door and my libido skyrocketed. The increased libido actually upped my testosterone a bit. And I felt better than I had in years. That increase in libido is still in play 8 years on. So if you guys are worried about the snip, I hope this helped put some of you at ease. I don't even know who you are. Non-British people on Reddit. What do you think of us Brits? You seem to either enunciate very clearly in a way that makes me want to listen carefully to every word you say, or emit some incomprehensible noises that are apparently also English. Your British mysteries, which are somewhat popular in the USA. These quaint little towns have a homicide rate comparable to Angola. I miss Red Dwarf and Hugh Laurie doing comedy. Midsummer is the most dangerous place on earth, literally worse than Mexican cartel towns. You guys create a sport and then get beaten by others who are better at it. If Wallace and Gromit is what you Brits are like, then I want to meet all of you. What is the greatest Nickelodeon TV show of all time? Are you afraid of the dark? I'm a grown-ass man and still remember those episodes and can still watch them. This thread is definitely going to show the age differences. My vote goes to Pete and Pete. Early SpongeBob. All That and Keenan and Kel. Avatar: The Last Airbender. Hey Arnold. When is violence the answer? Self-defense or defending one that can't defend themselves? Right before being yanked into an unmarked van. When defending yourself against a physical threat. When you find the coworker who eats your lunch. When someone is attacking you or you need to protect your family. When the cat says so. What is something people said you'd regret, but you don't? Leaving home at 16. I had about $10 in my bank account and lived in crowded crisis accommodation for a while. Best decision I ever made. It was the first night I felt comfortable falling asleep without a knife under my pillow. Not pursuing med school. I have an interesting and high-paying career with much less stress. I have the potential to earn more money than some physicians. Plus everyone I know who became a doctor questions their career choice constantly. Everybody told me not to buy a house till 4 years ago. House prices are gonna crash, they said. So happy I bought back then because it's even harder now than it already was then. Spending my 20s traveling and working random hospitality, sales and construction jobs around the world instead of going to uni and becoming an accountant. Switching jobs. My old one had this very, once you're in you can never get out, mentality. Saw multiple people come crawling back and stuck back at the bottom of the totem pole, depressing. When I moved, one of my engineers swore up and down I regret it because I'd trapped myself at a certain salary. Even though I told him it was a lateral move, same salary, and I regularly saved half my paycheck. Anyways, he was obviously projecting about himself, depressing. New one's got its problems but its world's better. Some of my current coworkers have this shitty mentality too. But I tell them about the Mordor I crawled out of and they STFU. Was working for a manufacturing company back in the early 90s. Got an offer from an internet startup and told my boss I was leaving. Don't do it, he said. The internet's a fad, he said. We all know how that turned out.
Subscribe, my brothers.